Here's what's coming up on today's show.
So it's important that you diversify your money into different asset classes, countries, lots of different ways and sectors and things like that to make sure that you're taking advantage of those opportunities as well as trying to prevent a huge loss.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
I got a crime of the week here. We talk about these federal crimes all the time because there are so many crazy ones on the books, and they usually have something to do with money, so we try and make you aware of these. But Mark, there's a crime of the week involving scorpions, which I thought you'd be really interested in. Did you know it's a federal crime to mail live scorpions unless they're in a box labeled live scorpions, and that box has to be inside another box that also says live scorpions? I mean, how do these laws get on the books?
That's a pretty crazy one. But as you know, we do have scorpions here, and they're very hard to kill. I mean, anybody living here knows that. And exterminators are very popular in this area. And something like, I think somebody once told me a scorpion can go a couple years without water and like a year without food, and they can crawl through like electrical, the outlets, receptacles. Because they have that exoskeleton. So they're extremely hard to keep from coming in your house. You don't want to step on one or get stung by one either. So,
if it's live scorpions in a box, it has to be labeled live scorpions, but then that box has to be inside another box labeled live scorpions. I guess that's just an extra
maybe because
area.
They can get out of the first box very easily.
Yeah, that's an extra area of protection for everybody there. So
I certainly wouldn't want to receive a box of live scorpions.
No, I don't know why anybody would.
I'm not a fan of those.
No way in the world. Well, hey, let's talk about something that makes a little bit more sense. And here on Saving with Silverman, financial proverbs. There are plenty of proverbs and axioms and just old sayings that aren't meant to be about money, but we could easily learn a financial lesson from them anyway. There's an old saying that I think all of us had heard at one time or another. Maybe you've even said it. I don't know, Mark. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. What in the world can we learn from that?
Well, I think it's just important to understand, to focus on, and a lot of people are concerned this year. There's a lot going on. Obviously, the stock market's been tough. The bond market's been tough. Inflation, war, political environment. There's just a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. So it's easy to get down. But it's important, I think, to focus on the positives rather than the negatives. And on what you have, trying to keep what you have instead of always trying to get more.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to keep growing, which I certainly understand. But, when you're dealing in the financial markets, not every day is a positive one.
Yeah.
So if you can think more forward or more longer term, the markets will work for you.
And the longer you go in your life as you're getting closer to retirement, it's really important to shift into that preservation mode more so than the accumulation stage.
Yeah, it's important to adjust. Your portfolio needs to adjust, and most people just kind of set it and forget it, which is not always the best strategy. In fact, it's not. Rebalancing is important, and a lot of other things that's why it's important you find a professional that can help you with this and make sure that you stay in the right portfolio, so you don't end up doing the thing where you get out and get back in and that cycle, which we know that doesn't work.
We should all remember a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And I got another one here for you, another saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. What do you think of that one?
When the markets are up, a lot of stocks are up. Doesn't mean every single stock is, but a lot of them are. And the same is true when stocks are going down. A down market, even positive companies or companies that are doing well are going to be affected by it as well. So it's making sure that you're in a globally, in our opinion, globally diversified portfolio that's going to, over time, do well. It may not make money each and every day, but over time it's going to serve you well if you stay invested and you're in the right portfolio that matches your risk tolerance, your goals, objectives, etc.
Another old saying here, and gosh, I've heard this 100 times, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I guess that's easily understandable when it comes to financial matters.
Easier said than done. Yeah. I mean, and that's why we're big believers in a globally diversified portfolio, rather than just putting all of your money in company stock, which we see occasionally, or putting it all in one sector. It's important to diversify. The U.S. has been so dominant as far as the markets that everybody's wanted to be in U.S.-only portfolios, where our clients have benefited from a U.S. Globally diversified portfolio, especially this year when other countries are actually outperforming the U.S., and that's what happens. So it's important that you diversify your money into different asset classes, countries, lots of different ways, and sectors and things like that to make sure that you're taking advantage of those opportunities, as well as trying to prevent a huge loss, if you will.
And a lot of people out there listening to the show today may feel that they're really diversified when, in fact, they're not at all, and they may be surprised when they come and talk to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
One man's trash is another man's treasure. Boy, that's for sure, and it certainly applies to investments as well.
Yeah, not all investments are created equal. What's good for one person may not be good for another. But, I'm a big believer in, if I wouldn't put my own money into it, I'm not going to put my clients' money into it. So we stay away from things that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
High commission products and those sorts of things. It's just not what we do. So if I don't believe it's a good investment, I'm not going to put clients into it. But, not every client is the same. So there's different risk levels and things like that. So everybody's portfolio is different, but everybody's situation is different. So you've got to match the portfolio with the client. And then adjust as their life changes.
And another good example of how you shouldn't take financial advice from your brother-in-law or your neighbor or a coworker who says, do this, because that's not necessarily what you ought to do for your individual situation.
Correct. And everybody's hindsight's 20/20. They'll tell you their successes, but they'll never talk about their losses.
True.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of folks may be moved to make that phone call to your office and get that initial conversation with you, Mark. Mark, is there anything that folks, before you have that very first conversation, is there anything that folks need to prepare or gather together before that happens?
Not necessarily. I mean, really what you're doing is you're reaching out and to get on my calendar. And so you'll reach out by call or text, and Christine will call you back and get you on my calendar. I mean, if you're listening to this show, you probably have some concerns, whether it be, you're paying too much in taxes, maybe your investments aren't done properly, maybe you're concerned about some of your financial goals that aren't being achieved. Whatever it might be, whether you're retired or you're close to retirement, maybe you have some needs that whether you're working with someone or not, that aren't being addressed. And it's simply just to have a conversation with me. There's no strings attached. There's no cost or anything like that. And you'll set up a 15 to 20 minute call with me. I don't pawn you off on somebody else. And we'll, have a nice conversation, answer any questions, and then go from there. And if we determine we're a good fit, we can take it to the next level. If I don't think we're a good fit or you don't think we're a good fit, no problem at all. I'll try to give you some advice and maybe point you in the right direction as regards to that as well.
You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601, or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.